we a little worried right now? The Canucks are leading 1-0 after one, and that's usually a bad sign.
I'm not that worried. That was a lot better effort than we saw against Boston.
Yeah.
That looks like a team that wants to play hockey tonight. Far better period than anything we saw in the last game. Great shift leading to the goal. Strong cycle, hard work on the boards, and just getting the puck to the dirty area in the front of the net. I mean, that was just a great shift. They kept Colorado hemmed in. Petey looks far more engaged tonight, using the body, blocking shots. Miller's flying tonight. What a horrible penalty call. I don't even know, like, in what league that's a cross-check. That happens literally every shift in front of the net, on the boards. Like, I've been hit harder by my 7-year-old son. That was an embarrassment. And I was just watching briefly there, Miller at the end talking with the ref, being like, where was the cross-check?
Yeah.
Like, can you please tell me? Because, like, what are you talking about? That's insane. But yeah, overall, need to clean up the faceoffs a bit.
Mm-hmm.
We're hitting, we're blocking shots, we're causing them to give the puck away by winning those board battles. Really, the only down I would give is we're still a little bit close to giving that backdoor play up. Miller caught one pass that was on its way across the zone.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to be wary of that, because Colorado will utilize that for sure with the lethal weapons they got in Nichushkin and Rantanen and McKinnon. So we got to be wary of that cross seam pass. But other than that, much better team. Looks like the team that came out against Florida.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to look at ups for the Vancouver Canucks, 10 shots in a period, so they hit double digits, which they don't normally do. They out-hit Colorado 14-7, so double the amount of hits. They only had 4 giveaways to the Avalanche, 9 giveaways. They blocked 5 shots. Colorado only blocked 3. And they have 1 takeaway, and Colorado still haven't got a single takeaway from the Canucks. So statistically, not only just on the eye test, statistically, the Canucks are given an up just based on all of those good stats, other than, like I said, the face-offs are a little messy right now. Colorado winning 60% of them. Canucks only winning 40% of them. So, I mean, the biggest down I'm going to give to this game is the reffing, because that, like you said, brutal, right? Like, we saw that stuff in roller hockey, right? And it didn't get called in roller hockey. And for anyone who doesn't know, roller hockey is a much lighter game than ice hockey, which I learned when I started playing ice hockey. But yeah, big down to the refs, because once again, who knows? Like, maybe it's just because it's McKinnon. Do you think that's just like a star player getting special treatment?
If McKinnon can't take that, he shouldn't be playing hockey. I mean, come on. I don't care whose name bar that is on the back of the jersey. Like, that's child's play and should never be called in any game. I'm just
kind of a
that feels to me like a ref that was just waiting to call a penalty.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to be the center of attention, you might as well make it 2 calls, because McKinnon turns around and slashes Miller, right? So, but
exactly,
I mean, just don't call it, because it's foolish.
No, and then at the end of the period there, Rantanen 2 hands Susie right at the end. No call on that.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, what are you doing? Like, it's just so inconsistent. And I think that's my biggest frustration with the officiating in the NHL is the inconsistency. There doesn't seem to be a designated rule book. Everyone has their own way of calling a game, and then there's also no accountability, that none of them have to answer for the way that they do things. And I feel like in the age that we're in, that needs to change.
I almost want to sit down and make a spreadsheet for the referees, just to see like what kind of calls they're making, what time of the game they're calling, what kind of players they're calling on. And I mean, that would be a lot of work to put into it. But I bet you I should even just Google it, because you never know. Somebody's probably got all the stats out there of how many cross-checking call Rooney's has made. Like, maybe some refs just love, I hate icing. Maybe these refs hate cross-checking or something like that.
Yeah, you never know. I'm sure there is some patterns for sure with certain officials and certain teams.
Buffalo rumors. Twitter is on fire because of a drop comment from a supposed insider. Can you tell me who the insider is and what is the rumor that he dropped on us today?
Elliot Friedman, leave us alone. Keep the Vancouver Canucks out of your mouth. The 32 Thoughts podcast this morning, Elliot Friedman was just kind of talking out his butt and pulling things out of the air and talking off the top of his head. And he suggests that maybe a Pettersson trade to Buffalo for Bowen Byram and Dylan Cousins is a possibility. And he's saying that he's not saying that either side has talked about a trade like this, but he threw it out there. And the problem is that Elliot Friedman has a wide reach. And the second those words came out of his mouth, Canucks Twitter exploded with people for the trade, people against the trade, people wondering what Elliot was smoking. First and foremost, Petey's not going anywhere. He just signed an 8-year extension. He is staying here. He is only 26 years old. He hasn't even reached his prime yet. Canucks fans act like he is 30 and has had his best years already. Yes, he struggles with offense from time to time, but he's still learning that part of the NHL game. He has had great moments, but he also does some amazing things away from the puck when he is struggling. He's blocking shots. He uses his body. He draws the most penalties in the NHL. There's so many things that he still is yet to show us as a player. Trading him would be the biggest mistake ever for this organization. It would be similar to Calgary getting rid of Matthew Tkachuk or Buffalo getting rid of Jack Eichel, Ryan O'Reilly. It's idiotic to think about it. And like Miller too just signed a long-term extension. Not everyone is always going to get along. And Miller and Petey are 5 years apart in age. I don't know anyone out there who has siblings, and the age gap means something. If there's a 5-year gap between you and a sibling, you don't see eye to eye on a lot of things. There's gonna be like Miller is married and has kids, and Petey is young and still likes to go out and socialize and has a social life. And so there's these things where there's all this locker room issues and this, that, and the other thing. And it's realistically, at the end of the day, these guys just need to put all the personal stuff aside and realize that it's all about winning and it's all about the Canucks and it's all about bringing your best game every night. And if they can do that, this team is going to be just fine. If we want to worry about anybody being traded, it's Brock Besser. We're not even going to get into that conversation right now because he's got a contract expiring and there are things that need to happen. But Rutherford came on After Hours on Saturday night, and it wasn't a very confiding, very confidence-filled conversation that he was having, saying that him and Besser's people are kind of far apart. And that's fine. Besser deserves to get what he wants, but if he wants 8 years, it's just not a wise investment for the Canucks right now. And so Besser's more likely to be the trade chip at the trade deadline, but that depends on where record is at. And there's so many things that can change between now and then. So for right now, just rumors. Elliot, leave us alone.
And even that comment can be a negotiating tactic from Rutherford saying we're very far apart, blah, 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 right?
Exactly. And then you had Besser saying I'm a loyal guy and it's nice to get my 400th point or whatever in Vancouver. And so Besser wants to be here. I guarantee you the organization wants him to be here. It's just about making it work both ways with the numbers and the term. But ultimately, if they can't see eye to eye, he's going to be going elsewhere.
Yeah. Canucks get down with the sickness.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked about this a little bit, right? Yeah. Wah! We talked about this briefly, hoping, and it's not like we wanted to hope that the Canucks were sick, but we were hoping that we could explain their terrible play by the sickness that is going through the team. Because even like I said to you in our chat earlier today, I watched the interview with Quinn Hughes this morning. He had that little I think he was trying to hide it from the media maybe, but it did sound like he maybe's got a bit of a cold. Is that kind of maybe what we're starting to think is the whole team is just kind of dealing with a flu right now?
I think it is, but there is more to it. Lankinen and Forbert are still sick, so clearly it wasn't just a little like 24-hour flu bug or something like that. Like it is surely has to be affecting other players. Obviously not as bad as Lanky and Forbert because they are out.
Yeah.
But that being said, what bothered me was Tockett's comments talking about 4 or 5 guys not being emotionally ready to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
And that has nothing to do whether you're sick or not. If you tell your coach you're good enough to go, then you better be good enough to go. This is the NHL. It's not men's league hockey where you can just decide to do whatever you want and bring your E game and still get 5 goals. These guys need to find a way to motivate themselves night in, night out. Doesn't matter who the opponent is. It doesn't matter what day of the year the game is. Every one of these games matter because when it comes down to the playoff picture, you're going to want home ice advantage or you're going to want certain matchups. So
Do
the
we
way
want,
to do that,
but do we want home ice advantage?
fair enough. Touche.
In general, though, yes, you should want home ice advantage.
Yeah. And so, clearly the message that was sent so far has been well received. It's a good start to this game. Let's see if it continues and the Canucks can come out in the second period and push hard and get a second or third goal here and get a bit of a lead. But, if we start to see those slumps happen again where this team is having trouble getting going, those personalities in the locker room aren't going anywhere. So if they're not going to trade those people, then they need a ringleader that can keep them in line. And so that's where, again, it circles back around to coaching, right? So
Yeah.
we'll see where this goes in the next couple weeks. I'm sure we got the rest of December here to kind of see where it goes. And I wouldn't be surprised if very early in the new year, heads start rolling, depending on the outcome of the next 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, and then one thing you have seen chatter online and on Twitter and all that, which is, a great place to find your stuff. But everyone's like, oh, yeah, as soon as JT Miller gets back in the lineup, Pettersson goes back into his slump because clearly there's something going on between them. No, because I saw the stats come out today. And similar to when we talk about Makar and McKinnon, when Makar and McKinnon are on the ice together, they're not as good. But when JT Miller's on the ice with Quinn Hughes, he's way better than when he's on the ice without Quinn Hughes. And when Pettersson's on the ice with Quinn Hughes, he's way better than when he's not on the ice with Quinn Hughes. The only difference is that Quinn Hughes numbers don't change no matter who he's on, right? So that's the difference. But again, just throwing shit at Makar for no reason.
But
now
when you look at it,
yeah,
Hughes makes everyone else better.
Yeah,
because Petey and Miller are only out there with Hughes at the same time on the power play.
Right.
Otherwise, it's one or the other gets them in 5-on-5 hockey.
Yeah.
And so that's where it's like Hughes elevates everyone else, whereas McKinnon and Makar are specifically elevating each other.
Right. Vilmer Alriksson.
One quick thing before we jump to Vilmer. Canucks fans, stop complaining about our players on social media. If you want to send a message to Petey, to Miller, buy a ticket and boo them.
Yeah.
Nothing will send a message more quicker to a home player than their own crowd booing them.
Mm-hmm.
They could care less what you have to say online or in social media. Sack up and go to the arena and boo your home team. I dare you.
Yeah. Challenge accepted.
Anyways.
So Vilmer Alriksson.
Moving on.
A little trade down in the CHL. Canucks prospect Vilmer Alriksson, big boy, who did show very well at the Canucks Young Stars tournament in Penticton earlier, and did see a little bit of action in the Canucks preseason. What can you tell me about the trade?
Well, first and foremost, for those who don't know much about Alriksson, he was a 2023 fourth round pick He's 6'6", 19-year-old. He is 234 pounds, and he's a left winger. He kind of slipped through the cracks a little bit in the draft because sometimes those guys that are that big, that young, a lot of scouts don't value them as high because they sometimes take longer to develop. Whereas Alriksson is showing now in his year in the CHL on a floundering team, he's having a great start to the year. So this trade is probably a beneficial trade for Alriksson in the long run. He started the year with the Guelph Storm. He's got 23 points in 26 games, 11 goals, 12 assists. But he joins the Brampton Steelheads now, who are 4th in their division and will actually be fighting for a playoff spot, as opposed to Guelph, who are last and buried behind juggernauts like the London Knights and Kitchener Rangers and Erie Otters. So this is probably a better jump for him. He'll get more ice time and better matchups, and maybe be able to put up some even bigger numbers. So we'll keep an eye on Alriksson down in CHL.
Yeah, Big Hog is like, Canucks traded Alriksson? I was like, no, the Canucks didn't trade him. His CHL team traded him. So we have not lost him. He's still in the organization. But because he's playing down in the CHL, you will often see these players get traded around. And like Dustin just said, he's been traded to the better team. So he will actually get to see hopefully some playoff experience down there. And I mean, would you say 23 points in 26 games as a 19-year-old is nothing to snuff your nose at?
Yeah, he could be that power forward winger we've desperately been craving here in Canuckland.
Oh, you'd love to see it. Once again, we didn't quite get to the Evie Canucks. We have a game to update everyone on from the weekend, so we'll just save that for the post-game show as long as that works for you, brother.
Absolutely.
Cool.
We'll see you then.
Take it easy.
Nothing is perfect.